Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Herditya, our Introduction to Literature lecture, for allowing us to present our virtual presentation today. Secondly, we are going to present our analysis of the short story titled A Clean, Well-Lighted Place by Ernest Hemingway. Before that, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Alia Ambar Afifah.
My name is Vinky Irma Delvia.
And my name is Sania Nabila Kamalin.
Our project goals are to discuss four main points. They are the plot, the characters, the narrative perspective, and the setting of the story. Here is a brief information about the author and the short story that our group has chosen. It will be explained by Delvia. For Delvia, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you Alia for the time. And I would like to explain about the short story. A Clean, Well-Lighted Place is a short story by Ernest Hemingway. He is an American novelist and short story writer awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. The story was published in Scribner's magazine in 1933, United States.
Okay, thank you, Delvia. Well, my name is Alia, and I would like to explain about the plot of the short story A Clean, Well-Lighted Place by Ernest Hemingway. Usually, short stories are structured with a simple plot. They have a beginning or exposition where the characters and the mystery are introduced, a middle where the main action occurs, which builds to the climax, and an end which includes the falling action and the resolution. Next slide, please. Alright. We are going to discuss the beginning of the short story. At the story's beginning, the writer introduced the three main characters, an old deaf man and two waiters. The author also explained the place and time setting in the story's exposition. The story begins in a cafe late at night. The only customer left at the cafe is a deaf old man who sits outside. He likes to stay late because it is quiet and he can feel the difference. However, the two waiters keep a close eye on the old man since they know that he won't pay if he gets too drunk. Next slide, please. Alright, we move on to the middle of the story, especially in rising action. After that, there is a dialogue between the waiters about the deaf old man. The rising action of the story begins when the two unnamed waiters it means that the writer only mentioned one older waiter and one younger waiter are discussing an old deaf man who comes every night, sits alone and drinks brandy in the cafe until late closing time. The two waiters discuss about the deaf old man who tried to commit suicide last week, said the one waiter. When the other waiter asks why the old man tried to commit suicide, the one waiter tells him that the old man was consumed by despair. The next rising action occurs when the old man taps his glass and asks for more brandy. The younger waiter tells the old man to kill himself last week, but the old man cannot hear him. Next slide, please. Yes. We are going to discuss the climax of the story. The climax of the story occurs when the older waiter says that we are of two different kinds. We can see that the younger waiter is in a hurry to go home while the older waiter is a person who likes to stay late in the cafe. The older waiter expresses empathy and understanding towards the old man's needs for such a place, acknowledging that he too sometimes feels lonely in the darkness of the night. On the other hand, the younger waiter shows impatience and dismissiveness towards the old man, eager to close the cafe and go home early. He believed that he and the younger waiter are of two different kinds. It is not necessarily about youth or confidence, but about the fact that every night he is reluctant to close up because there may be someone who needs the cafe. Next slide. Alright. After the climax, we have falling action in the story. The falling action of the story occurs when the older waiter goes to a well-lit but dirty bar. The older waiter goes to a bar and orders a drink. He said to the barman that the light is very bright and pleasant, but the bar is unpolished. The barman doesn't respond because it is too late at night for conversation, but he offers another drink which the waiter declines because he dislikes bars and bodegas. The last one, Yes, the last one is resolution. At the end of the story, the older waiter prefers a clean, well-lighted cafe than bars and bodegas. After that, the older waiter returns home and tries to convince himself that his real problem is insomnia. Well, I think enough of my explanation about the plot of the short story. The next point will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Sania and I would like to explain the characters in this story. There are four characters in this story. The deaf old man, an older waiter, a younger waiter, and a barman. Here are the character analysis in this story. The first is the deaf old man. The old man always came to the cafe in the evening to sit under the shadow of the trees lit by electric lights. Since he was deaf, he enjoyed sitting like this because he found the quiet of the night relaxing. Most readers learn about the old man through dialogue between two waiters. A week earlier, the old man tried to commit suicide, but he was saved by his nephew. Because the old man had a lot of money, the older waiter believed that the suicide attempt was pointless. In other words, the older waiter blamed the old man's despair about the meaninglessness of life. He drank with the intention of getting drunk. The older waiter showed the majestic manner in which the old man behaved. He drinks without spilling, and when he leaves the cafe, his steps may be unsteady, but he walks down the street with majesty. The second character is the older waiter. The older waiter had a different response from the younger waiter to the old man. He sympathized and understood the old man's loneliness and his reasons for frequenting places like cafes late at night. He takes his time closing the cafe and reveals his problem with insomnia at the end of the story. Because he is older, he knows better what the meaning or meaninglessness of life is. He understands the old man because in this sense there is nothing that can provide comfort against loneliness and aging. He emphasizes the importance of a clean, well-lit cafe to provide some kind of order to lives like his own and the old man's. The third character is the younger waiter. The younger waiter had little interest in the old man's life or struggles. He didn't quite agree with the older waiter's argument regarding the need to keep their cafe open late for those who need it. He seemed unable to understand the meaning of loneliness described by the older waiter. He was busy with his own interests and worries about returning home to his life. The younger waiters couldn't understand that he too would be older and lonelier someday. He reveals himself to be insensitive when he claims the old man would be better off committing suicide. He was unaware of the good fortune bestowed upon him in his youth. And the fourth character is the barman. The barman was annoyed by the older waiters and did not engage in conversation. The next is about kinds of characters. In a clean, well-lighted place, the two waiters are flat characters who serve as waiters and vehicles for the story, lacking depth in their personalities. The old man, however, is a more rounded character, portrayed with feelings of loneliness and a longing for a well-lit place, central to the story's theme. There are also modes of presentation in the story. In the story, A Clean Well-Lighted Place, the author used modes of presentation, namely narrative and dialogue. We can see the narrative modes at the beginning of the story, how the author describes the situation of the cafe and mentions the characters. On the other hand, the author also used dialogue modes in the story. We can see the dialogue between the older and the younger waiter and also the barman at the end of the story. Well, I think enough of my explanation about the characters of the short story, and the next point will be explained by my friend.
Well, I am Delvia and I would like to explain the narrative perspective in this story. A clean, well-lighted place is written in the third-person omniscient point of view. It means that the narrator is a protagonist character and in the third person and present the action from all-knowing, godlike perspective. For example, In the beginning of the story, the narrator described the old man and the situation there. He also mentioned that there are two other characters, the older waiter and the younger waiter. Pay attention to the statement. In the daytime, the street was dusty, but at night the dew settled the dust and the old man liked to sit late because he was stiff, and now at night it was quiet and he felt the difference. The two waiters inside the cafe knew that the old man was a little drunk and while he was a good client, they knew that if he became too drunk, he would leave without paying, so they kept watch on him. From this statement, we know that the narrator is a person who is all-knowing about the characters and the situation there. Next, as we know, the narrator does not mention himself as a participant in the whole of the story. It can be seen from the pronouns that the narrator used. Instead of using the words I and we, the narrator uses the words they and he to describe the characters in the story. This proves that the narrator does not take part in the story. Next slide, please. Well, the next one I would like to explain about the setting of the story. As we know, that setting consists of three, namely setting of place, setting of time, and the last one is setting of atmosphere. Let's discuss the first type, setting in the story. This story takes place in the cafe. Please pay attention to the dialogue. It was very late and everyone had left the cafe except an old man who sat in shadow, and leaves of the tree met against the electric light. This story also takes place in the bar. The light is very bright and pleasant, but the bar is unpolished, the waiter said. Next slide. The second type is setting of time. This story occurred late at night, when the old man was drunk and the older waiter walked to the bar. These are the evidences from the text. It was very late and everyone had left the cafe. Now at night, it was quiet and he felt the difference. The next one, the barman looked at him but did not answer. It was too late at night for conversation. Next slide, please. The last step is the setting of atmosphere. The atmosphere of the story is lonely. This is the evidence from the text. And look at the terrace where the tables were all empty, except where the old man sat in the shadow of the leaves of the tree that moved slightly in the wind.
Alright, the conclusion of our virtual presentation today will be explained by Sania. For Sania, the time is yours.
Okay, in conclusion, A Clean, Well-Lighted Place explores the themes of loneliness, despair, and the search for meaning in life. The story primarily revolves around four characters: the deaf old man, the older waiter, the younger waiter, and the barman. The narrative is presented from a third-person omniscient perspective. The story is set in a small cafe late at night.
Alright, thank you, Sania. Well, everybody, finally we have come to the end of the virtual presentation today. Before that, I would like to remind all of you that we are opening an online forum discussion in Sipejar. So if you want to ask questions, give comments, or give constructive criticism, please write in the place that has been provided. Once again, I would like to say thank you to those who have watched our video, and we are so sorry if we made a mistake. Thank you for your excellent attention and participation. See you on the next occasion and have a nice day.